Hey, welcome to Picture This Film Reviews. My name is Matt.
I'm Dan.
Hey, another week, another movie. This is a very special movie that we're talking about because it is a request from a viewer, a friend of the show, Kurt. If you're watching, hopefully you are. You're the one that requested it. So we're here. We are here to talk about, Dan, what are we talking about?
We're talking about the Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rising.
Ooh, Evil Dead Rise, the new movie from earlier this year. It is a, I don't know what it is. It's not really a sequel, but it's not really a remake. It's kind of a reboot or a, what was the Scream terminology? A requel?
Requel, yeah.
Yeah, maybe something like that. Um, we're going to get right into it. I'm going to throw it over to Dan. Dan, what are your initial thoughts on Evil Dead Rise?
All right, man. So coming into this, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I have seen all the Evil Dead movies. I've watched all the originals. I watched I guess it would be the reboot, and then watching this. So a little familiar with the franchise. Um, Overall, going into this, I don't know really what my expectations are. I know that with the reboot, it had a lot more serious horror movie tone to it than the originals did, which I know that was kind of like where they were strong. This one, I gotta tell you, man, for a horror movie, a lot of gore. And it seems like horror movies nowadays are going down this road of where it's okay to pretty much do all these messed up things to kids. And this was not an exception to that. And I think maybe only one kid ended up perishing in this movie. Spoiler alert, I'm going to spoil the heck out of this real quick. But several teenagers definitely got whacked. We saw a mother, meet her untimely demise. But going up through the progression, I mean, all the classic elements are there. It's just kind of crazy, when there's like a little bit of an earthquake type tremor thing that happens in the beginning. A hole opens up in a parking garage after they get back with some pizza. Our first instinct is, oh, let's dive down in the hole. We find a book, the Evil Dead book's in there. He opens it up, cracks it up. He takes it upstairs, whatever, figures out after he cuts himself that the book opens and then there's nothing but bad stuff in it. And I did appreciate the fact that over the course of that, I know they're trying to kind of build the backstory of the Book of the Dead, um, that they had the audio recordings from the priest that discovered it initially and laying out his journey, what had happened, and everything's kind of illustrated in progression of what's going to happen with the movie. But without getting too far into it, overall feelings, it was again a lot more gore than I think it was horror. There were some suspenseful moments, but the times that got me to literally like jump in my seat were the ones like where she took the cheese grater
Mm.
across the lady's leg, like that one. I was just like, oh my god. And then I don't know, the daughter when she was eating the glass and it started
Mm.
poking through her. Those things really skeeved me out, I guess would be a good term for it. Um, Overall, in terms of horror movies, I'd probably rate this. I know we're on a scale of 1 to 5. I know we're gonna come back to our ratings, so let me stop there. But all-time favorite moment with this, if I had to pick a favorite moment out of this movie, would probably just be the whole thing that happens down the parking garage where all the creatures are kind of binded together, and eventually they figure out how to defeat it by pushing it into the wood chipper that randomly is in the bottom of this car parking garage, and kind of made that happen. But I'm interested in your thoughts on this too, Matt.
And boys and girls, if you have not seen this movie, Dan just gave it all away for you. So as he mentioned, spoilers. Of course, this movie has been out for several months now. So if you haven't seen it by now, you know, what are you doing? It's your own fault. Or you just don't have any interest, which means you're probably not watching this video to begin with. Um, I going into this, the trailers made it look kind of dark and very much like the 2013 remake or reboot. Movie, and you and I went and saw that 2013 movie together, and that movie, like, I remember, shook me to my core. Like, that movie was violent. That movie was, I was not prepared for what came out of that movie.
But it was well done.
It was, like, very well done. I put it right up there with the original. As you know, two totally different movies, even though they're the same and almost remake of each other. Um, but right off the bat, one of the things I thought was really well done in this movie was the opening title sequence. That whole beginning, with the at the I don't know where they were, some sort of campground or something, and with the friend sick in the bed, and she's possessed, as we soon learn, and but then the boyfriend and in the water, and then she rises up out of the water, and we see the title card behind her, Evil Dead Rise. It's just a beautiful shot, and that moment alone was like, oh hell yeah. I thought that was fantastic. um I found it interesting that this time around, I mean, we had the Book of the Dead, which plays a huge part, but usually in the other films, someone would read from it, and that would release the spirit or the entity. This time, it seemed to come from the record player. The boy Danny's record player uh, had some sort of preacher or some sort of you know uh, happenstance on it that was all in all releasing this entity, which I thought was different, a different take. The whole movie, shall we first say, is different because really up to this point, other than Army of Darkness, the third original of the original movies, this is the first one that's not set in a cabin. This is taking Evil Dead out of the woods, out of the cabin, and we're putting it into a almost like a, I don't remember if it said exactly where they were, but it's almost like a New York type old apartment building. Um, and that's kind of where, which is a fantastic idea, but that's kind of where my problems start coming into play because I felt like they had this great backdrop and they didn't really use it. They used it, but they didn't really use it to their full potential. I mean, you know how much you could have done with that, and how many other characters you could have put in there, and how many, and initially, I guess part of that could be, I remember reading that this was originally meant to go directly to streaming, and then it got such positive early reviews that they're like, hey, you know what, we're gonna theatrically release this. So that might be why the budget may not have allowed it to have so many different cast members and do more with the apartment building. But I just felt like it was a missed opportunity to have that huge, abandoned apartment building, which they did touch on why I guess it was going to get torn down and only a few stragglers were still in there. But I mean, it just seemed like you could have done so much more with that. Even the characters that were in there, like we meet them just in time for them to get killed off. So I really thought more could have been done there. Um, my problem with Another problem that I had was that I didn't feel that the character development was fully there like it was in 2013. In the 2013 movie, they gave us, Mia, I think was her name. And, she was a recovering drug addict, and that's why they took her there so they could get her through the detox. And, her brother was there, and there was a whole story there, and it made you invest in the characters. And then when each one started getting killed off, you cared about them. You're like, oh no, I like that one. And I really like that character, and they were just dying. And whereas this, I felt like we got just a touch of it. It gave us just a taste of that character development, but not as much as I would have liked because we have this mom played by Alyssa Sutherland, who, by the way, kudos. I think she was phenomenal. She is creepy. I think she's going to go down in history, horror history, as a great performance, a great evil possessed character. I think people are going to remember her performance for this. I hope she blows up and does other things in the horror genre because she's great. Um, but her sister, she's a single mom. We learn raising three kids, and her sister, who's a groupie, but also maybe a druggie, but also maybe and she's pregnant. She finds out moments before she shows up at the apartment. We see that their relationship is kind of strained because She didn't even know her sister was single now that her husband had left, and she. I just felt like it was just kind of all thrown together, and now all of a sudden, as things start happening, we're supposed to invest in this sister character who's going to be our leading lady. She's going to be our hero of the story. And while I didn't dislike her, I didn't have enough reason to root for her. I felt like, give me more of a reason to really care one way or the other if she dies. I mean, the only reason I cared was because I felt like, well, somebody's got to live in this thing. They're killing off everybody. But really, I didn't care. Like, she could have died, and one of the kids could have lived, and I wouldn't have, it would have made a difference.
I think it would have actually made more sense had they killed off all of the characters involved. Because again, like we're shown like toward the end of the movie where she's out, both
Yeah,
of them are out, but yet we just had dead body parts laying in that place, and that was it. It's nothing got put back in the box. It was just there.
right. And I said New York style apartments, actually Los Angeles. It is in my notes that I made. If I'm looking down, that's why I got notes in front of me. So it's a Los Angeles apartment. But overall, I really enjoyed this. I don't want it to come off like I hated it or didn't like it. I thought it was very well done. I thought it was exactly in the same tone that I thought it was going to be, the dark, gruesome, like you said, very gory. The 2013 movie was gory too. I guess it's a matter of opinion of which one you think is gorier. I've heard a few people say that Evil Dead Rise is gorier. I personally think Evil Dead 2013 is a slightly more gross and gory. The cheese grater scene would have gotten me, but they showed it in the trailer. And that was literally, it wasn't extended in the movie. Like the whole scene, the whole clip of the cheese grater is in the trailer. Like there wasn't anything extra. So, I mean, there wasn't like, oh, I had seen this before. They should have not put it in the trailer, is what they should have done. Because then when it happened, I would have been like, oh no. Whereas this, I'd already seen it. I'm like, oh, okay. It's the same 2 second shot that was in the trailer. Okay. Um, but I thought, the gore effects and the makeup and everything was very well done. The acting was there for me. I believed the acting. I just wish the writing had just been a little bit stronger when it comes to character development and use of the taking it out of the cabin and putting us in this cool old abandoned apartment building. I wish more could have been done there. That's my long initial thoughts.
Uh, I guess we'll get right into the overall ratings then. So, honestly, coming back to this, I prefer my horror movies with a little bit more suspense. This one kind of just was out of the box, like slammed you, slammed you, slammed you, slammed you, and just kept slamming you.
It checked the boxes. So you said something. I don't mean to cut you off, but you said something that I meant to get to. It you said something to the effect of it did all the things or something like that in your when you first mentioned we're talking about it. It did. This movie checked all the Evil Dead boxes. Chainsaw check. Ooh, tons of gore check. Camera flying towards check. It
Heck,
did
we
all.
even got almost a Shining reference when the elevator doors are opening up. Just
Yes, yes.
blood pouring out of that.
Yes, I mean everything that you'd expect from an Evil Dead movie, this movie had. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Truthfully, with this though, if demons were to get into the real world, if I were to try to think what they would act like if they inhabited somebody's bodies or took over, killed them, and then took over their bodies, which I guess is more appropriate. Like this is kind of how I would picture that going down, and more so like, oh yeah, like it doesn't matter where you are, they're gonna come get you, and
Right.
there's really no stopping it. So in that, I will say honestly, for me, it was exciting. Still kept me on the edge of my seat. I wish there was a little more build up, like you said, character development wise. There wasn't a lot there. Like the kids, the son especially, just for some reason annoyed me. The fact that it kept being told, "Don't do this, don't do this." Like, oh, I'm just gonna keep on doing this, which is kind of like a horror movie trope, and I don't know. It's just it gets overplayed sometimes. But overall, this movie enjoyed it. On the scale of 1 to 5, I'm sitting at probably a 4 even on this. Could I watch it again? Yes, probably would just to kind of get some more of the backstory out of it and try to understand a little bit more out of that. But would also be interested to see a prequel to this, even to like the priest or the holy people, like what they did, how they finally got the book closed and got it into the vault under the place to begin with, because
Right.
the dude died. So how did it even get, how did the book get down there? Did they put the book down there itself? And then why did it surround itself in the vault with all the crosses and stuff? But overall, good watch, and thank you for the pick, Kurt. And then turning this back over to Matt.
I am also at 4 stars with this as well. I like I said, I enjoyed it. I had a few nitpick things that we discussed, but overall, I thought this was a good movie. If you're a fan of the Evil Dead series, I think you'll like this. And I too would like to see more built on this. Whether that's the rumored sequel that's going to involve, it's going to be like the No Way Home of Evil Dead movies with all the characters from all the versions of it, or whether it's a prequel. Like I think that's a great idea. Give me if they were to release, if they were to do it soon, while this movie's still fresh in people's minds, yeah, heck yeah, release a prequel. Let me see how, why is it on a tape or on a vinyl record, and why is it, what happened with that priest, and how did it get in the bank vault that's now underneath of an apartment complex? Like, give me that story. Like there's a whole movie right there that could be done with just giving the backstory of that. So, uh, Kurt, thank you for the pick. We hope you agree, or even if you don't agree, we hope you enjoyed watching our opinion of this. What do you think? Let us know in the comments. Any final thoughts on Evil Dead Rise, Dan?
If you're into horror movies, go check it out. Um, Honestly, I think I watched this on Vudu where it's available. Go out there. It I think is totally worth the money spend on it. If you can get out and watch it, it's a decent movie. And again, like Matt said, you never know what's going to be coming down the line for that franchise. It definitely doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon. And the last piece, I think there was a cameo appearance by one of the original characters in this, correct? Over the radio, or was I?
Bruce Campbell, yes. So Bruce Campbell's voice, who's Ash in the original 3 movies, his voice does appear on that record. Uh, during the as Danny is turning the record and hearing all the priests, and his voice is on there. He's the one uh shouting back at the priest. So if you listen, there's a priest talking that you hear a lot of, and then you hear a second voice that's like, no, I forget what the exact line is, but he's basically saying no, no, like fighting back to the priest, and that's the voice of Bruce Campbell. So and the rumor is that not only is that Bruce Campbell's voice, but the reason it was done like that is because it could even be Ash. It could even, depending on how they take this story, it could be that yes, that's Ash's voice, and it's all gonna come together, connecting the original trilogy with the 2013 with Evil Dead Rise in the next film. So I think that would be badass. I think that would be awesome. Um, so we'll just have to see where it takes us. That's it. Let us know what you thought of Evil Dead Rise. If you liked it, if you hated it, if you thought it was too gross, if you thought it wasn't gross enough. Do you agree with the 4 star rating, or do you think it's a dud, or is it a 5 star? Let us know. Do we want to talk about what's next for us? Because as you're watching this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the week of Father's Day. That's a big deal. So you're welcome for reminding you that it's Father's Day this weekend.
And big week for movies too, Matt. Right?
And a very big week, something I have been waiting literally over 30 years for: the return of Michael Keaton as
Oh crap!
Batman.
He's coming back as Batman. What movie is he coming back in Batman in, Matt?
The Flash.
Holy crap!
Yes, there's a video that he released on Instagram that said, "This Father's Day, the one gift, the one movie your father wants to see on Father's Day is The Flash." And why? Because Batman's in it. And or I forget. I'm sorry, I'm butchering this, but it basically says, and you know what else? And then it cuts to the clip of the Flash where he's in costume. He's like, "I'm Batman." It's a cool little thing that he put on Instagram. So that's cool. Um, I think The Flash is our next episode. It comes out Friday, June 16th. So as you're watching this video, it'll be coming out this Friday. And then we will be talking about it probably next the following week, like probably the next episode. Well, it will be the next episode after this, but probably next week from the week that you're watching.
Yeah, so tune in with us. And honestly, if you are catching these videos, whether you're catching on one of the short videos or if you're zooming in to picture this, or if you're coming to us from one of Matt's wrestling videos or way back when we were two nerds in a movie or whatever else is going on this page, welcome. I think we have 3 new subscribers, so shout out to those guys. Definitely excited to keep growing the Picture This family. So keep on tuning in.
Film
Check.
Family. My
Yep.
my original name for this show that I wanted to name the show was Film Family, and everyone thought it was a poopy idea, but we've made
Well,
several references to it over the couple years.
you're part of it
We
regardless.
we are now the Picture This Film Family. Um, no, yeah, thank you for the subscribers. It means a lot. I think I've been doing standalone reviews for a month or so now. I've done a couple of them. Dan, I think, just put one in the can as a standalone for him. So, uh, what did you go see?
So we went to go see Across the Spider-Verse. So that was coming out in theaters. I went with my wife and children, which I would not necessarily recommend going with your kids to this one.
Was it
Um,
not kid
Just
friendly?
some of the themes are a little heavy. There is death. I mean, as far as cursing, there may have been like 2 times. Outside of that, it wasn't too bad. There's a lot of action to it, but um, a good watch, and I'll definitely get into that in the review.
Well, awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I have not seen that movie, so I think between the two of us, we're going to be giving you guys all the movie reviews you can take because what I don't see, Dan will probably cover, and what Dan doesn't see, I will probably cover. So, and then what we both see will be here on Picture This. Uh, guys, that's it for now. Everybody have a great week. Join us next week for The Flash, and of course, love one another.
See you guys.